Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Lowen Behold podcast. And for those of you who have been around since before the rebrand, you might recognize Caleb Crowley, who is the former co-host back when we were still off the backboard.
Yes.
Welcome back, Caleb.
Thank you. I'm very excited to talk trade deadline. This is truly when my little rumor-pilled brain is at its best. So I'm loving it. This is so crazy. All the things that have happened, things that might happen, the things that won't happen that we thought will. This is so fun.
Yeah, and anybody who's listened to Caleb or read any of his work, or anybody who's watching YouTube and can see his background right now, knows he's a Cavs fan. So he's yeah, so he's had a day.
Yes. Yeah.
But before we get to that, let's start off with probably not the most nothing trade of the deadline so far, but one of the most interesting ones from the day that nobody's talking about, where the Chicago Bulls trade Kevin Huerter and Dario Saric to the Detroit Pistons for Jaden Ivey, and they also got Mike Conley. Which to me, like, I'm looking at that trade, and I really like that for the Pistons. Ivy, they definitely sold low on Ivy, but they get the shooting they desperately needed. But on the flip side, the other big team involved in the trade, we can discuss the Wolves here in a minute.
Yeah.
But the other big team, the Bulls, are left with 7 point guards on their roster.
Gosh.
Because they've got Trey Jones, they've got Kobe White, Josh Giddey, Ayo Dosunmu. They now have Mike Conley. They have, I'm forgetting a name, Jaden Ivey. Jaden Ivey and Anthony Simons, but we'll touch on Anthony Simons again in a bit. But that's seven point guards.
And Kobe White's still there. Yeah.
He was the first guy I mentioned.
Oh, my bad. Yeah.
Those are 7 guys even who have started at point guard in the last year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's absurd, and they don't have any centers. Like that's the.
Well, Jalen Smith, right? He's a center.
Hey, he was a 10th overall pick once.
Yeah, the Cavs have a center if they want one. But yeah, the Bulls. I don't think the Bulls are thinking that they're contending for the playoffs anymore. There was that short period where they're like, we're gonna get Anthony Davis, and I think that's long gone. I think they're done with that. I like the fact that they're kind of pivoting back into a not necessarily a rebuild, but like a built for the future, because Jaden Ivey's a future piece. Conley's older, his contract's expiring soon enough. They just got Dario Saric from the Cavaliers DeAndre Hunter trade, so effectively, they just got 2 first-round picks from the Cavs and Kings for nothing. Now they're getting off of Huerter's contract, getting off of Saric. You're bringing in a good veteran to teach the young guys for a bit, unless he gets traded again. And then you have Jaden Ivey, who could be, something. I think he could look good next to Giddey on offense.
Yeah, to me, I think Detroit sold really low on Ivey because of the contract situation. His rookie contract ends this year, and he realistically, based on every year except for this year, he deserves like $30 million, right? If you base it on the first 3 seasons of his career. But the problem is he snapped his leg last year playing Jalen Suggs, and now he's in a situation, or was it Franz Wagner? Either way, it was against the Magic. It was against the Magic. But now you're in a situation where he's recovering from a broken leg, so that speed's not quite there yet.
Yeah.
But if you've been watching the Pistons, you've seen that speed's starting to come back. And he's starting to get a little bit more confident. He's still a 40% three-point shooter. Mm-hmm. And he's got a good handle. He's got good playmaking. So I really I love that trade for the Bulls if you can cut out like 3 of those point guards and just get some front court depth. Especially if you can get some youth up there and some more picks. That would be phenomenal for them.
I think realistically, Ivy could be a starting shooting guard next to Giddey.
Yeah.
I don't think he has to be a point guard. I think he's better as a scorer than he is a playmaker. So I think shooting guard might be more of a natural position for him, or at least a combo guard.
Yeah, but then having him as your go-to scorer takes a lot of pressure off of Giddey. first of all, but then off of Matas Buzelis as he continues to grow, and then you transfer Matas Buzelis from being that secondary playmaker, so now he's a tertiary playmaker. He doesn't need to look to create for others. Now he's like, he can create off of off-ball movements now, and he can move off the ball, and then when he gets the ball, he can either put it up or he can even move it again and get like kind of a hockey assist there. And because Ivy has point guard experience, and he filled in for Cade much of the time in his first 3.5 seasons.
At what point do any of these guys become like really big pluses on defense? Because otherwise they're screwed. I know Ivy's not bad on defense.
Yeah, Ivy's good defensively.
I don't think he's the kind of guy who can make up for Giddey and Buzelis being heavy negatives on defense.
Buzelis, I think, will eventually be a good defender. He's just way too thin right now. Mm-hmm. And then they need to find a rim protector.
Yeah.
Ivy Ivy's good defensively. They need to find defensive pieces to surround them. They need like an emotional leader like Dylan Brooks as well once they start putting things together. But I really like what they've got going on. I think they made good progress towards building their young core. They just need size and defense is really what I'm looking for with them.
Can the Bulls manage
forward.
To move off of Patrick Williams before the deadline, or is he just stuck?
I think they're stuck with that contract because I don't think they're going to give up picks just to get off his contract.
He was what, a number 4 overall pick?
I believe so. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, because he was.
Lonzo was a number 2 overall pick. It happens.
Yeah,
James
it happens.
Wiseman was number 1, right? Or number 2?
He was number 2.
Number 2. Sorry.
He was ahead of LaMelo Ball though.
Yeah, true. Yeah, second overall pick.
And Tyrese Halliburton was in that draft too, and Denny Avdia.
Marvin Bagley went before Luka, so I guess we shouldn't judge someone based on their draft pick.
Yeah, the 3 picks after Marvin Bagley were Luka, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Trae Young.
None of them on their original team anymore.
No. That entire top 5 is on different teams. But moving on to the other bigger trade that happened today. Speaking of actually same guy, Jaren Jackson Jr. That was the perfect segue. I actually completely missed that. Jaren Jackson Jr. to the Jazz and like 3 other players to the Jazz for really a slew of decent young guys and 3 first-round picks. Like that's not bad for Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yeah, I think the Grizzlies' return really centers around the picks and then Taylor Hendricks. Walter Clayton might become something. Kyle Anderson is like, I'm a fan of Kyle Anderson. I like slow-mo, but I don't think he's really a needle mover for anybody.
I think he's going to be a buyout candidate, personally.
Yeah, I think he and Yang could be buyout candidates. But those 3 first-round picks, the most favorable of 2027 with the Jazz, Cavs, and Timberwolves. Then you have the Lakers 2027 pick and the Suns 2031 pick. Like, that is a haul for Jaren Jackson Jr. We've seen star players not really go for that much lately.
Luka.
Yeah, but now Jaren Jackson Jr. is going for 3 first-round picks. They traded Desmond Bane for, what was it, 4?
Yeah.
So for 2 players, neither of whom are like perennial all-stars. I know Jackson has deep boy, but right, they're not like, front-facing leaders, like the front runners of the NBA at large. You got 7 first-round picks for them. They have, 17 first-round picks in the next, I think, 8 years or something now? I mean, they're one of the best teams for the future to look at. They're pulling a mini OKC. Now the question is, what can they get for Ja? This makes it easy to move on from Ja Morant without getting a great haul, because you already have one. You can focus more on just salary, expiring contracts and stuff over picks. I'm really impressed with the Grizzlies. I like this. I personally don't like it for the Jazz, but I like it for the Grizzlies. So
yeah, and they also have guys like Edey, Gigi Jackson, and while a lot of people argue those guys are players that they should build around, they're also like both 23, 24. So they're kind of in that same situation Denny Avdia was on the Wizards, where sure, you can argue he's young enough, but he'll be entering his prime as the other guys are just starting to. He'll be in the middle of his prime, and while the new guys that they're bringing in are just starting to figure things out and just becoming rising star or becoming all stars. So moving on from Edey, I think could be something that we see in the future with the Grizzlies team. I believe the Wizards would likely be interested in that because I know they desperately need rebounding behind Sarr, especially with Marvin Bagley. But I won't press my Wizards too much today because they haven't really done anything since Trae Young.
I don't think an Edey trade is imminent. I think it's something that could happen 3 or 4 years down the line. But he's still young. If the Grizzlies can somehow, flip this into a quick rebuild, I think Edey's a great center. It's very hard to find a player like a Zach Edey who just is very physical. And he's not physical by playing dirty. He's physical by just playing tough.
Yeah.
Playing within the
old school basketball.
He's going to get you every single rebound he can. He's 100% a team player. Like, if I'm the Grizzlies, I would hold on to Edey until you can't. Until you either can't afford him or until he just doesn't make sense for you. I'm holding on to him for at least the next 4 or 5 years.
Because he's a fantastic player. Especially if you get him opportunities in the low post. He's like Taco Fall, but way stronger and way more skilled. A lot more touch. But on the Jazz side, I think the Jazz are looking to push their chips in to make the playoffs next year. Maybe not this year, because I think Lauri Markkanen. I don't think Lauri Markkanen's going to be there when they make the playoffs with this current roster. I think what they're planning on doing is I think they're going to try and move Lauri Markkanen to try and give Ace Bailey at least a shot to do something. And if he can't do that, then they have $28.8 million trade exception. Which, if for those listening who aren't aware, that trade exception essentially means that they can fill contract in a trade without having to match it. It's basically a voucher so that they can trade it. So they can match. If somebody's making $30 million, they only need to put in like $1.2 million to match it. So it gives them tremendous cap flexibility, which under the current apron rules is invaluable. Like that is insane value when taking into account they're going to try and win in the next couple of years because we're seeing Keontae George. He's arguably a fringe all-star. Yeah, you could argue he should be a fringe all-star candidate. He's not in the West this year just due to how loaded the Western Conference is. But he's putting up ridiculous numbers. Walker Kessler is going to be coming back next year, which you can't really play Markkanen, Jackson, and Kessler in the starting lineup because they're all starting caliber players. You've got Yusuf Nurkic, who's a great backup big. Like, I think Lauri Markkanen at this point in time is the odd man out because he's the worst defender on the roster. Mm-hmm. He's the oldest guy on the roster by, I think, a good year or two. Well, excluding vets, like out of the core guys, rather.
Yeah.
Because Jaren Jackson Jr. was drafted, I think he was drafted the year after. He was drafted in 2018, whereas Markkanen was 2017. And then Markkanen, like I said, he just doesn't really fit the rest of what they've got going on. So I think if they're willing to lower the asking price of Markkanen and they move on from him, give Ace Bailey a real chance to just go and have a much longer leash in the second half of the season, I think the Jazz could really take a leap next year, especially with another lottery pick added to this core. I think they got another 2026 pick as well. Somewhere else along the line. So they've got multiple first round picks this year. They can consolidate picks to add another one. I think it was Jake Fisher said a lot of teams are going to be looking to trade the 2027 picks to really push their chips in this year with this draft class. Utah is, with Danny Ainge at the helm, is somebody who I could absolutely see doing that. Mm-hmm. So I think the Jazz are going to be looking to make that next step to either the play-in or the playoffs next year. And I think they're going to use that record-breaking trade exception to make it happen.
Yeah, there's a very decent chance that this pans out wonderfully for the Jazz. I'm personally I'm a big fan of Keontae George. I think he's really solid. I like Walker Kessler. We'll have to see what he looks like when he comes back because his injury's no joke. There's a reason he's out the whole year. Markkinen, I do like. I think it's hard to find a good trade, even if you lower the asking price, just because of the size of his contract.
Yeah.
He's making the same amount of money as like he's not far off from Giannis, frankly. Like he's making well over 40 million. I know Giannis is decent chunk more, but still, like the skill gap between those two is much larger than the salary gap. So I question that. And then Jackson Jr., he's a really solid player, but I'm not convinced that adding Jackson to a core of George and Bailey makes you a contender in a loaded West, even in 2, 3 years. I think that they don't have like that 1A player. I think George might become that. I look at this trade and I think it's good for them. I don't think that they needed any of those draft picks. They still have a good assortment of them. But just personally, I don't look at this and feel that I'm seriously moved or like inspired by this. I think it's okay. I think it's a good trade, but Jackson Jr. to me does not bring them up a tier. I think they're in the same place they are in terms of like a tier list, a fringe playing team, and I think that's about it. But their lottery luck in 26 could change all that. There you get a top 4 guy, top 5 guy, they might have that 1A player right away. But right now, I like the Jazz. I think they're a cool organization. I've always liked a lot of their players. I was a big Mitchell fan before he came to Cleveland. That guy was huge Jazz guy. You like Jazz, because of Mitchell. So I don't know. We'll see. That's really all I have. I don't have much of a take outside of I want to see it in action before I have much of an opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll give you that. And then you mentioned another guy. I'll take a break. We'll take a break from discussing trades for just a moment here to talk about probably the biggest storyline going on currently with the trade deadline, and it also relates to another trade we discussed earlier. Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yep.
He's officially said, yeah, it's probably time to move on. John Horst is saying we'll do what's best for Giannis and what's best for the Bucks, which is kind of being like, yeah, we're probably gonna move him, but we need a good price for it to happen.
Yeah.
But the
Giannis
problem
is doing Giannis things where we still have no idea if he'll actually get traded.
Yeah.
The Bucks now are saying, or at least I saw one report that it's the Bucks think if they get good lottery luck, Giannis will stay because the thing that a 31-year-old Giannis Antetokounmpo wants is to wait for a young guy to develop because that's what he's happy doing with Ryan Rollins right now. But I digress.
Yeah. But the biggest problem I see with the Giannis sweepstakes, and I mentioned this earlier, is it's not lack of interest, but lack of quality return from the interested teams.
Yeah.
Because you look at the Warriors package, and the Warriors were heavy favorites at one point to get Giannis. Their best package is built around Jonathan Kuminga, who has negative trade value, Moses Moody, who's a role player, Brandon Pajemski, who has negative trade value, and Draymond Green, who's old, and 3 first-round picks. Which, those 3 first-round picks, yeah, they're future, and you're like, yeah, maybe Steph Curry's retired. But what if Steph Curry plays another 4 years? Then 2 of those picks are with Curry and Giannis as a duo. And Curry's not slowing down, and he's not going to slow down for another few years just because of the way he plays. His shooting ability, his playmaking ability make it so he can play it as long as his body will allow him to step foot on a basketball court.
Yeah, barring a crazy injury, Curry will be great for a while still.
Yeah.
I think you're right. It's crazy to me to think that like Moses Moody 2-3 years ago probably had the least promise and potential and trade value of any of those 3 guys.
Yeah.
Outside of Draymond. But now he has the most. Like he's the most exciting player in that trade. I like Moses Moody. I think he's a very good role player. Not just a role player. I think he's very good. He's good on defense. Like he's at least pretty solid. He's a good shooter. He can do a little bit of everything. Kuminga and then Pajemski, like I don't think there's anything about that Warriors trade that interests me. I'd rather take Tyler Hero and Kalel Ware and stuff from the Heat,
Yeah.
I'd rather listen to the Raptors and take on an overpaid Emmanuel Quickly. I think what you were alluding to is clearly this trade with Mike Conley is leading to the Timberwolves probably having the best offer for Giannis
The,
right now.
I don't know if the Wolves have the best offer either, because
Really?
they made that they actually declined. I read a report. I'm not sure who broke the report. I saw it through Legion Hoops on Twitter, but they said that the Wolves were offered Kobe White in that deal, and they
Yes, I did
declined
see
that.
that. Yeah.
They declined adding Kobe White in exchange for getting literally nothing, because the cap space because it would allow them the cap space to move for Giannis.
Yeah.
Actually, I think Shams actually. I think Shams actually kind of touched on that, but I don't think he mentioned Kobe White.
Yeah. Yeah, they're clearly looking for Giannis. I know that for a hot second, they said if they don't get Giannis, they're pivoting to Harden. Obviously, we can get into that
Yeah.
soon. They're going big game hunting. And I personally like the idea of Kobe White in Minnesota a lot. I love the idea of Giannis and Anthony Edwards. I don't know if Giannis and Rudy Gobert mesh, but the
Well,
idea of that duo is great.
to me, so the trade package I think would be I think the trade package would be Julius Randle, Rob Dillingham, Terrence Shannon Jr. Probably throw in somebody else in there. I would not trade Johan Berenger. I would not trade him. And then every last pick that the Timberwolves, every last pick and trade swap they have available
Is
is
that
what.
good enough when they also have someone like a McDaniels? If I'm
That's
the Bucks, it's McDaniels or I'm not doing it. I
yeah.
don't want to keep Giannis until the
I
offseason.
I agree with you, and I'll get into more why I agree with you here in a minute. But I don't think if I'm the Timberwolves, I would not trade Jaden McDaniels
Hmm.
for. I would hold on to Jaden McDaniels as close to my chest as possible, because he's probably the most underrated defensive player in the league.
Well, he's phenomenal.
He is, because his defense is not quite at the level of the Thompson twins, but it's like Thompson twins, Bilal Coulibaly, Jaden McDaniels, right? Like they are right there. Those are probably the four best perimeter defenders in the league when you take into account their ability to switch onto big men as well.
We're
And
forgetting about the steals, all-time steals guy for a season, and Dyson Daniels. He's probably
he has not been anywhere near
he's
as
allowed to have
good.
a slump. Dyson Daniels. Is
He
my
he
guy.
hasn't been anywhere near as good on
Yeah.
either side of the ball this season.
No,
So
oh yeah,
it's
offense has been abysmal.
yeah, his offense has been terrible and his defense has been good, but not anywhere near the level
Yeah, it's not
it was last year.
but Daniels to me, that's like the peak perimeter defender right now.
Yeah,
He's having a rough year, but
yeah. I don't know. This season, I think those three have been those guys have been the best perimeter defenders. Now, obviously, I'm probably missing somebody, but those are
yeah.
those are the guys where it's like, oh my goodness, because they're also all 6'6", 6'9", like they're all
There you go. You skipped it.
yeah.
You skipped 6'0".
Because I think the Thompson twins have grown a little bit. Bilal Coulibaly, there's no way he's 6'6". Jane McDaniels, he's listed at 6'9". I've heard reports from the Timberwolves that he's grown to 7 foot. So they all have the ability, and they've all guarded Steph Curry, and they've all guarded Giannis, and they all have the ability to switch between any player between those two, which covers up about 99% of the league. So those guys just their defensive impact is insane. So I would refrain from trading Jaden McDaniels if to a very I wouldn't trade him unless I absolutely have to. Is what I'm getting at.
I think to get Giannis, you have to. I think the question is,
Yeah.
like, if you have Giannis and you can keep like a lot of your solid role players like DiVincenzo, you can keep Naz Reid. You probably have to include Julius Randle in that trade, and you can somehow promise yourself that Gobert and Giannis will look good together, and you can keep a Berenger, and maybe you can still find a point guard out there.
I think the
Honestly, DiVincenzo's a good point guard next to Edwards.
I think
I
the
can do it. You're the best team in the West, then, arguably. I mean, hmm 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 Yeah, the point guard buyout market probably won't be too horrible. I think I think the Wolves are in a good spot if they're willing to give up McDaniels. They probably have the best Giannis package
yeah,
to offer.
but also at the same time, if you're the Bucks,
hmm
if I'm the Bucks, I'm looking around the league. The other Pat Riley is probably the stingiest guy in the league when it comes to trades.
Yeah.
He refused to put up decent offers for Dame Lillard. He's refused to put up decent offers for Giannis up to this point. So I don't think that changes. I think he continues to be the stingiest GM in the league. And
I
then
think what they can offer is that good. I'm not really
yeah,
sold on Tyler Hero being a blue chip young player.
yeah. And then you look at the Knicks, their best offer is Cat, who's probably having the worst season of one of the worst seasons of his career.
You know what's
So
going to happen? He's not going to get traded at the deadline. And then in the offseason, LeBron's going to leave the Lakers in free agency, and they're going to sign and trade for Giannis with Austin Reeves and Dalton Connect and DeAndre Ayton, and he's going to the Lakers, and it's Luka and Giannis running the NBA for the next 5 years.
but if I'm the Bucks,
hmm
I wouldn't trade him at the deadline because
Yeah.
you have if I'm just looking around the league, there are two guys who the two best potent guys that you can possibly get
Yeah.
in terms of blue chip young talent are probably Paolo Banchero and Jalen Williams. Like those two guys, I'm not saying that Jalen Williams is on the market, but let's say if OKC underperforms in the playoffs and and Jalen Williams doesn't turn it around and he has a really bad playoff outing, you've got to think about it if you're OKC, right? At least think about it. And you can't move him now because he's on that poison pill because he's hitting his contract extension this offseason. So, and same thing with Paolo Banchero. Both of them are poison pill contracts. So you can trade them almost straight up for Giannis. You can trade them both almost straight up for Giannis this offseason, but you can't trade either one for Giannis right now.
Yeah, the Magic would have to add in, I think, about 10 million more with
Yeah.
Caro for Giannis. I think about the
Same thing with OKC.
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
you do that. You do.
Is the best option not the Spurs though? If we're waiting until the offseason, it's not the Spurs offering Fox and Sohan and Dylan Harper.
Yeah, I don't know if Dylan Harper's included in there. I think they're gonna. I think the Spurs are also out on Giannis at the moment. I think they want to see how everything kind of comes together in the playoffs.
Yeah, come off season though, I think it'd be a very real option. Harper's great. I like Harper, but if I had to choose between Harper and Giannis, I'm taking Giannis because Stephon Castle can absolutely run an offense with Giannis and Wemby next to him.
Yeah, and what I would do if I'm the Spurs and things kind of look iffy in that backcourt, I would try and keep Harper. I would try and compensate for that by offering like Harrison Barnes instead, or if not Harrison Barnes, Keldon Johnson, and then offer more picks. Because the only team that can offer more picks that would be willing to even talk picks is OKC.
Yeah.
And again, OKC's entire thing is built around Jalen Williams being somewhat redeemable moving forward because he has looked bad. Granted, he's got a wrist injury, but he just hasn't been the same guy this year.
Yeah, the OKC one, my question is how do you mesh Giannis, Chet, and Hartenstein? I think the answer is Hartenstein comes off the bench.
Yeah, Hartenstein would come off the bench. You would start Chet at center, and then basically what would happen is you would just rotate the guys. Like if Giannis sits, you've got both Chet and Hartenstein. If Chet sits, you've got both Giannis and Hartenstein. Like you'd be able to do it. Spacing would be a little bit awkward, but Giannis has played with non-spacing bigs in the past. And Hardenstein, honestly, for a center who can't shoot, still spaces the floor really well because he's able to be that offensive hub out of the high post, and he's got that floater. So he's not even like a Gobert, where Gobert just can't do anything when he's not like right at the rim. Like Hartenstein still spaces the floor even as a non-shooter because of that ability to set screens off the ball, set screens on the ball, high post offensive hub, that floater game and that pick and roll with Shea, making them one of the best pick and roll duos outside of obviously Jokic and Murray. Like that, I don't question that fit at all personally. I think that fit works almost perfectly, especially starting Chet. Chet's a little thin to be playing the center position. I would like to see him put on another 10 pounds if they're going to make that move. But that's a scary defensive team because you could pretty easily move AJ Mitchell into that starting small forward spot. Like that's actually he might be a little small for that. I think he's 6'5", but you get the idea. They have
6'5" isn't horrible.
Yeah, you've got the ability to fill that spot with guys who aren't quite as dominant defensively or as aggressive defensively as Jalen Williams, but still very good defenders. And you're feeding into probably two of the 5 best help defenders in the league, in Giannis and Chet. Like that, I don't question that fit at all, personally at least.
Yeah, I think if I'm OKC, I don't know if I'm willing to trade J-Dub after you just won the title with him.
Yeah.
Even if he's having a down year, you do have the injury. I think if I'm OKC, I think every team should be going after Giannis to some extent. But if I'm OKC, I'm much less motivated to do it since you have the MVP. You just won the finals. McDaniels looked great throughout most of the playoffs. A quality player. He's in the lead for DPOY race last
He's an all-star.
He is an all-star. I'm not sold on Chet yet personally. I don't even know why. I just am not. I think it's just he has such a skinny frame. I'm just terrified he's going to have a season-ending, like a career-ending injury any day now.
Well, I thought that Liz Frank injury that he had, like right before his rookie season, I thought that would end his. I thought that was going to derail his career.
A lot of serious injuries, so I'm always concerned with that. But if I'm OKC, I think I'm just rocking with what I have for now.
Yeah,
I think the Giannis sweepstakes, you're right, probably goes into the offseason. I don't think there's a team that's going to go for him and offer enough. I know obviously the Cavaliers are going for him. That's been the biggest news for them ever since the Harden deal. I think the Magic could try to go after him in the offseason with a Paolo Banchero. And throwing in maybe Jonathan Isaac just as salary filler. I think that'd be a good trade with some picks in there. Especially the ones, no, they don't really have picks because they gave them all to the Grizzlies. So, we'll see. I mean, I think...
But Paolo's also probably far and away the best player they'd be able to get. Or in terms of blue chip young talent, rather. Let me rephrase. In terms of blue chip young talent, Paolo's probably the best player you're getting in return.
Unless you're getting Evan Mobley, a DPOY and all NBA player.
But the Lakers could also, like you said, enter that sweepstakes in the offseason. They don't have anywhere near the level of
they don't.
They don't have the firepower to do it. But they would be able to financially do it.
Yeah, they're always going to have a chance. Giannis will be able to control his destination. If he says, I want the Lakers, he's going to the Lakers.
Yeah, but if they wait, they also lose the opportunity to get the Warriors because the only way that works is with Draymond Green because Jimmy Butler, as much as people want to say he's a trade chip, no, he's not. He's
not a valuable one.
No, he is the second oldest player in NBA history to tear their ACL.
Yeah.
Nobody his age or older has ever torn their ACL and then played an NBA game afterwards. I understand Jimmy Butler's tough as nails, but the problem is he's a non-shooter. He's 30? He's going to be 36 or 37 by the time he comes back. was showing he was clearly declining this season. This is the worst season he's had since he first started for the Bulls. He was already showing signs of I'm going to be out of the league here in 2-3 years, and then he tears his ACL.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if Jimmy Butler's ever going to play again, or if he does, will he be worth that $30 million or however much? I actually don't know how much he makes on his contract. Like, will he be worth that money?
54, I think.
Even worse.
If I can check, let me pull that up for us here.
Yeah, go for it. But Jimmy Butler, I think it's like a 50-50 chance he plays another NBA game, period. And are you really willing to pay that contract for that much money for a guy who might never play again?
Yeah.
Like with Giannis, you're able to get so much more than that. And then
$4.1 million this year.
Yeah, $54.1 million for a guy who might never play again, and if he does, he is probably a 7th, 8th guy off the bench, and is dramatic as hell as well. On top of that, so you're bringing in issue after issue after issue with Jimmy Butler, and then the other option is Draymond Green, who's an expiring contract, great, but it's Draymond Green, and nobody said it outright, but it sounds like he's kind of pitched the idea of the Warriors trading him and then just signing a minimum next year with the Golden State anyway.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're getting, at best, 30 games of Draymond before he goes back to the Warriors. So
that's about all anyone can usually tolerate of him. So
I mean, yeah, that's fair. But the Warriors to begin with, like, if it goes to the offseason, they're out, period. But even now, like, your best bet is 30 games of Draymond Green where you have to deal with that crap. Maybe you flip him maybe you flip him to Detroit and let him come off the bench, but try and get one of their young guys, Bobby Clintman maybe. But that's a bit of a stretch. You're really just getting Kuminga, Moody, Podziemski, and 3 picks that probably are going to be early 20s, because they're probably going to extend Giannis the second he gets there. So they're going to have Giannis throughout that entire duration of when those 3 picks are going to be due. They're going to have Curry for at least probably 2 of them. I doubt he plays 6 more years, but I just don't see that being a worthwhile deal. And so I think the Bucks do push it to the offseason, and I think he'll get moved for a lot more if they just wait another half year.
yeah, I think so. The Giannis situation, it is hard to predict it just because I think the problem the Bucks will run into is if they wait until the offseason, Giannis will have changed his mind and said, "Nah, I'm going to stay." And so the whole offseason, people are like, "Well, do you really want to stay?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm going to stay." And then the very moment the season starts or training camp and he sees the lack of talent on the team, he says, "Never mind. I might want out. Give me until the trade deadline."
I think it's in I think we've gotten to a point where it's in the Bucks' best interest to just blow it up. Giannis isn't going to be good 5 years from now. Wherever he ends up, they're going to offer him a big extension for like 5-6 years, and then he's going to get to the back end of that contract, the last 2-3 years, and that's going to look really bad at the back end. Sure, it'll be worth it if you win a championship in the first couple of years, but he's 31 years old. He's a decent mid-range shooter, terrible three-point shooter. His athleticism is going to start declining sooner or later. He's not everybody's LeBron. He's 6'11", so his body's not going to hold up as well as somebody who's smaller like LeBron. And on top of that, he's already injury prone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's played in 3 of the last 4 playoffs, all of which they lost in the first or second round. So it's like, it's going to be hard for whatever team to build a long-term contender around him. But also at the same time, like, if you can make it work, you probably get a championship out of it. But anyway, I think we've been beating a dead horse on that Giannis
Yeah,
thing.
we're belaboring Giannis a
Yeah,
lot.
we're dragging that one out a little bit. So I think we're gonna get to what you've been waiting on this entire day. DeAndre Hunter is a Sacramento King.
Yeah. I hope it works out for him.
You got Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder, which gives you quite the crowded backcourt there.
Lonzo's gone. Come on, he's not playing another game for the Cavs.
We'll get to that here in a second. But what are your thoughts on that trade?
It's what the Cavs needed to do. DeAndre Hunter, he was having declining trade value anyway, not because he's a bad player, but because he was under the microscope. Every single player for the Cavaliers deserves to be under the microscope this year because they've had so many bad playoff runs and too many good regular season runs that don't translate. So Hunter needed to be under the microscope like everyone else. He's a good three-point shooter, but it wasn't working in Cleveland. I think for the Kings, it makes sense. It's not like they really have a direction yet. So get an athletic forward who can shoot, and then you figure it out from there. He's a good role player for whatever your team looks like next. For the Cavs, I mean, Keon Ellis is one of the higher-end perimeter defenders you can get, especially point of attack. Like in isolation, he's very good on defense. He's maybe not, going to take on a Giannis or like a super, tall, powerful person. He's 6'4" and kind of skinny. But when you have like a Donovan Mitchell there, it really helps. Dennis Schroeder, he's a good Lonzo replacement. He's not as tall, but he's got a good attitude. He's tough. He's a smart passer. He's an okay three-point shooter. He's got good dribble penetration. Yeah, he's a journeyman. But people are journeymen because teams actually want them. It's not like he got a $14 million contract because someone was bored someday. It's because he's a good player. He's a solid role player.
No, his Lakers contract was bad.
Fair. Yeah, he's had a very imperfect career, but I don't think the Cavaliers are looking for prime Chris Paul to be coming off their bench. They're looking for a guy like Schroeder who will do a little bit of everything. He'll play tough on defense, and he'll try. He also isn't even that bad of a rebounder, especially for being, 6'3"?
Yeah.
So I don't really see much of a downside. They also dropped $50 million in luxury tax costs because this trade dropped roughly $8 or $9 million from their cap space.
Not
so
bad.
I think it's a win for the Cavs. It makes the DeAndre Hunter trade that I was celebrating a year ago a loss because you effectively traded a first-round pick swap and some seconds for Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder now, and also Karis LeVert and George Niang. So it's not great for the Cavaliers overall, but this trade in a vacuum is good.
Yeah, granted, Karis LeVert's been pretty awful in Detroit.
But the picks you're losing, Cavs only have 2 second-round picks left. Losing those picks does matter now.
Yeah, but I like that. I like that trade for Cleveland. You probably have the 2 best perimeter defenders at the guard positions, rather specifically that they've had with the current core. Schroeder is, I think, pretty easy. Schroeder and Ellis, I think, are actually pretty easily the 2 best perimeter defenders they've had. For the guard positions. For the guard position, Dennis Schroeder was phenomenal last year next to Cade, just because he could handle the ball. Right, he doesn't have to be perfect. He's able to. He's, like you said, elite dribble penetration, elite high-end defense. That's what you're getting with Schroeder. His shot comes and goes. There will be games where he's 4 or 5 from 3. There are games where he's 0 for 6 from 3. Yeah. And honestly, you live with that if you're the Cavs, because you get that defense, you get that dribble penetration, and that's 2 things that you lost that dribble penetration with giving up Garland, but you've never had that defense at the guard positions with the current core, and that's been probably the biggest gap they've had, is because with having to give heavy minutes to Garland and Mitchell, and then your only other guard last year other guards, plural, were Ty Jerome and Sam Merrill. You have 1 good but not great defender there in Ty Jerome. You get 2 great defenders here with Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis.
Yeah, I think this trade's more centered around Ellis. He's 26, so he's still fairly young.
Yeah,
He's on a minimum contract, so the Cavs now have the bird rights to try to sign him to something a lot larger. The most they can do is 3 years for 52 million total, so roughly about 17 million a year. I think that's really good value if the Cavaliers can sign him to that.
absolutely.
If he pans out, obviously it's a chance he doesn't, and if he doesn't, the Cavaliers can move on pretty easily.
Yeah, to me, he's not the level of shooter Sam Merrill is, but the gap between him and Sam Merrill's shooting and the gap between him and Sam Merrill and literally any other aspect of basketball is way wider than that shooting
I
gap.
don't want to discount Merrill's defense too much. He's gotten a lot better since the
Yeah,
Cavaliers have needed
but
him.
we're talking about
Yeah.
we're talking about an elite POA defender. Like
Yeah, Keon Ellis
that's
is one of the best point of attack defenders you can find right now.
yeah. And on top of that, he's a great shooter. He's not great at dribble penetration, but he's capable of it,
Yeah.
and he's just an upgrade across the board at that backup shooting guard position. He's bigger, taller, stronger. Like that's just a point blank upgrade in my opinion.
Cavaliers are
At least.
definitely a little bit weaker at small forward now, and I
Yeah,
think the plan is, from what I read by Chris Fedor, is Keon Ellis will probably play the three, and he's definitely undersized for the three.
yeah,
But he's so physical, and he's a good athlete. He may be able to make up for that. We'll see what the Cavs do for the rest of the trade deadline. There's a chance that if they can get another power forward or backup center, Dean Wade starts to play the three more, and now Ellis can transition back to his natural position at the two.
yeah,
So it's all in flux. Obviously, the Cavaliers are in flux. They're probably the team that will look the most different by the end
yeah,
of the deadline. So
yeah.
we'll see.
Absolutely. Well, except maybe the Clippers.
True.
Um,
If Kawhi gets kicked out of the league, maybe.
oh, there's one more thing I'm gonna loop
Mhm.
back to just because it came to mind.
Yeah.
When we were discussing the Pistons trade earlier, the Pistons are one player over the limit so they do not have a legal roster currently, and on top of that, Dennis Jenkins only has 2 games of eligibility left as a two-way player, and he's getting that full contract. So
Yeah.
effectively, they need to drop 2 player spots.
So Sarge is getting waived. Doing something.
Saric, I think, is going to get waived, and Karis LeVert hasn't played in a couple weeks either. I could also see them consolidating talent into a bigger deal, but we'd have to see. I mentioned a minute ago, a little bit ago, what we were talking about Giannis. If they do go with the Golden State trade, they could flip Draymond immediately to Detroit for like. Bobby Clintman would be really good. You could get Karis LeVert in there. That's 2 players right off the bat. You could probably get another player in there as well. But Draymond Green would be really fun off the bench in Detroit. There's no shot he starts, but his leadership and his playmaking would fit in perfectly there. But that was just a thought that I had.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't even realize that they were over the limit.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
But
That makes
back
Detroit a team to watch.
back to the Cavs.
Mm-hmm.
One more thing that I'm going to touch before the big one. Lonzo Ball. They're working on shopping around the league. There's a chance he's a buyout. He ends up on the buyout market. But I've also seen the Wizards have expressed interest, but they want to pick in return. Same thing with the Hornets. Do you see any shot they're trading him, or do you think he just ends up a buyout?
I don't think the Cavaliers would buy him out, purely for the fact that he has that team option, and a buyout gets complicated with salary because he might want some of that money from next year. And the Cavaliers, if they're trading Lonzo, it's to clear the books to get below the second apron. The Cavaliers
Absolutely.
are still the only team who are above it, and they're still 14 million above it. So they could trade Lonzo. Cavaliers are kind of in a similar spot to the Pistons. They're at 15 roster spots, and they've got a two-way guy in Naquan Tomlin that they definitely want to convert. I genuinely know that for a fact they are converting him as soon as they can. They just need a roster spot from my sources. But he's going to be on an actual contract.
Yeah.
So they're going to need to open up a spot. Lonzo's easy to trade. I think, I saw that the Charlotte Hornets are interested in a reunion for the brothers. They don't have a trade exception or anything that can easily just absorb Lonzo, I don't believe. The Nets and the Wizards can. Cavaliers only have 2 second-round picks to offer as compensation for that right now, or some pick swaps in the first round, and those would just be very complicated, like 4-team swaps at this point.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that goes. I do think Lonzo gets traded. The Cavaliers are also actively shopping Jared Allen. They're also actively shopping Max Strus. There's just a very real chance that the core four is Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley. And even that, if the Cavaliers are really chasing Giannis, and God forbid they're actually chasing Anthony Davis, financially you have to include Mobley because you have to get below the second apron and in order to aggregate contracts. So Mobley is even untouchable now. It is so clear that the Cavaliers are 100% all in, finals or bust. Donovan Mitchell's having the best statistical season of his career again. You have to win now. So we'll see. I do think Lonzo's gone, and I think at least one of Jared Allen and Max Strus are gone. And then I think they convert Tomlin to a standard deal. What they get in return, I genuinely have no idea. I think Lonzo, you get nothing in return. You just throw him to a player exception, send a second-round pick, and say thank you, shake your hands, and move on. I think there's no chance he ends up as a buyout candidate because that's just worse for the Cavs than having him sit on the bench.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I don't see any. I don't see the Wizards biting unless there's a first involved, and if it's going to be that complicated of a swap, especially with the Wizards being as bad as they are this season, I don't see them biting. Mm-hmm. Charlotte, they confuse me sometimes, so I could absolutely see them doing it.
Yeah, I can check. I don't believe Charlotte can do it outright. I don't think they can do it. The easiest team would be the Wizards because they have their full non-taxpayer mid-level exception that can be used as a trade exception. Lonzo is an expiring $10 million contract. Like, theoretically, if Washington just wants a second-round pick for funsies and move off the contract, they could do it.
They're in a spot where moving forward, they're going to need to start consolidating talent in order to have the top-tier, top-end talent because they arguably already have too many picks as it is. And not enough roster spots.
The Cavaliers could trade Lonzo to the Hornets for nothing more than a non-payer to the same thing as the Wizards, it looks like. Yeah. So the Cavaliers could throw in a second-round pick and send Lonzo to hang out with LaMelo and Charlotte because they also have their non-taxpayer mid-level exception, according to SpotTrack's
look at that
machine.
Yeah, and I think that move, if they make that move, I think that's them kind of committing to LaMelo long term, which honestly, with the way he's played this season, that's probably not that bad of an idea. If they're able to get him to stay healthy and keep playing the way he has this year, I'm going to take back a lot of things I've said about him.
I think the Trae Young trade market showed just how little they'd get for LaMelo.
Yeah.
At least for one more year.
Yeah. Same thing with Ja Morant. Although they're in a spot where they almost have to trade Ja.
I think they have to.
Yeah, and at the Heat, I've read the Heat are interested in him, but that's a topic for another time because the Cavaliers also made another trade.
They did?
Yeah, they got the beard.
Yeah. Yes, they did. Probably the most divisive trade of the deadline. I'm not saying that just because I'm a Cavs guy. I think the discourse on Twitter has been very divided. Because some people overvalue Darius Garland. Some people overvalue James Harden. Some people undervalue one of the two. Or both.
Yeah.
I can give my take on it. If you want to start us off, go ahead.
Yeah. I don't like it for the Cavs.
Okay.
I think the big issue they had was their two guards couldn't play. Their two guards were two ball dominant guards who couldn't play defense, and you had two defensive big men who struggled to play next to each other on offense. I think that was I've been saying that's been the issue with the Cavs for a while. I've been saying that they need to find a way to get defense in the backcourt and offense in the front court. And they made the backcourt issue worse because you're not going to get many more ball dominant point guards, really in NBA history, than James Harden. James Harden has pretty much every usage rate record. I think he's got like the top 3 spots. With actually Luka might be in there too, but
He
he's
is after this.
yeah. Uh, Harden doesn't fix any of the issues that they had. Um, you get more scoring, sure, but you're giving up playmaking. You're somehow giving up defense. Because I do think Garland was somehow a better defender than Harden has been this season. And then also, you're getting, 10, 12 years older?
Yeah, the age is the biggest thing.
Because
yeah.
And you're going all in on a championship core with nobody that's proven they can go on a big playoff run. Harden's made the conference. He's made the finals once as the 6th man. He's made the Western Conference Finals, I think twice, where he played horribly and Steph Curry made him look bad.
Whoa. We cannot discount the 2018 Western Conference Finals where they went to Game 7.
Yeah, I'll give them that.
The Warriors until Chris Paul went down.
I'll give them that. But also at the same time, and Harden played 3 great games in that series. But he also played 3 abysmal games in that series. Mm-hmm. Right? Like with James Harden, his reliance on the whistle is going to hurt you in the playoffs, because when you rely on him to get offense, there will be games where, yeah, sure, he's great. There are going to be games though where where his shots aren't falling and the whistle is not going to bail him out. And that's what we saw in that 2018 finals. We saw James Harden get off to a great start to the series and then disappear. And that's the nature of James Harden. We saw not quite the same thing, but a similar thing with SGA. They stopped giving him the whistle in the playoffs, and the Thunder had a couple series where they looked vulnerable. We look at the Pacers. In the regular season, OKC was infinitely better, right? In the playoffs, it was a 7-game series where many people would argue if Halliburton stays healthy, they lose that series. The Nuggets pushed them to 7. And in the regular season, the Thunder were way better than the Nuggets. Granted, you've got Jokic on the Nuggets, and he gives a lot more of a crap in the postseason than he does in the regular season. Whistle reliant players who get a heavy whistle not by playing the way that Giannis does, but for lack of a better term, flopping the way that Harden and SGA have a tendency to do. That doesn't translate into playoff success more often than not. Obviously, SGA is the reigning champion, reigning Finals MVP.
Saying, if what I get is Finals MVP effectively, I'll take it.
But also, Harden isn't SGA. Harden is more ball dominant than SGA. He's not the level of scorer SGA is anymore, and he's nowhere near the level of defender SGA is either. I would have almost rather played it out with Garland, personally. Because
play it out with someone who's not playing.
That's the other side of that coin. But also, are you getting that much better with, I think he's 37-year-old James Harden?
You're getting better. I mean, to touch on, the playmaking part, James Harden is one of the greatest playmakers we've ever seen. He's methodical. He can pick up his pace. He can slow it down. We are seeing James Harden at 36 put up better numbers across the board in points, assists, and rebounds than we've seen from a peak Darius Garland. That's fair. 7 for Garland. He was still one of the worst defenders the Cavaliers could have. He was, he's 6 foot nothing. Yeah. Harden is bringing on 5 more inches in height. He weighs, according to Basketball Reference, 5 more pounds than Evan Mobley, and he's only 6'5".
Yeah.
Maybe 6'6".
But
so you're bringing more height, more size, more a style of play that genuinely does fit better with Mitchell. And I'll get into that because I know it's a weird thing to say, but what have been the best eras of James Harden beyond his days as a 6th man where he didn't really get to control that offense? It was with Chris Paul, another ball dominant, high usage guard. And then he looked really like I think we because of the drama around James Harden. And look, I don't think I ever woke up any day of my life and thought I'm going to defend James Harden. Um, I'm not a fan of James Harden. I'm seeing this trade and it's very difficult for me because I watch Darius Garland and I see a near second coming of Steve Nash. And I love Steve Nash. I love the way he plays a lot more than Harden. But when I take an uncomfortable look at this trade, and not just from the Cavs' perspective, because I think this is high risk, high reward, but obviously the Cavaliers' perspective on this trade believes Harden's better. And I think a big part of that is you saw how well he played with a guy like Chris Paul. We forget that because of the drama that happened in Brooklyn, he looked fantastic with Kyrie Irving. James Harden, also on defense, brings more than Garland. Not on the perimeter, but again, he's a taller player. He's stronger and heavier, and whether fat suit or not, he's heavier than Garland. See, I will still take my jabs at Harden. I'm not gonna suddenly wear his jersey every day or anything, right? But
think he's getting 13.
I don't know. Max Strus is on the trade market. Maybe he gets one if Strus is gone. So we'll see. I think he gets 13. Tristan Thompson's number is not getting well, wait, was he 13?
You never know. 42 is in the rafters in Cleveland.
I know.
He played half a season there.
I know. Anyway, that was another era. But James Harden in a archetype is the first coming of a Luka Doncic. Doncic is better, right? But the way they play on offense is the same. It's the methodical, pick and roll. They can break down a defense, and it happens in an instant, even though you think it would take longer. We also have seen Luka at his best with a high usage ball dominant guard. Kyrie Irving got to the finals with Luka. Jalen Brunson had his breakout next to Luka, and he would not be the Jalen Brunson we see today if it wasn't for playing next to Luka. I think these guys in this mold of a Harden and a Luka fit perfectly next to a guy like a Kyrie Irving, a Chris Paul, a Jalen Brunson, and ultimately a Donovan Mitchell. We are seeing James Harden with a Donovan Mitchell in his prime. All those other examples, Chris Paul was already older, Kyrie Irving was already older, and Jalen Brunson was already younger. He wasn't in his prime yet. We're seeing the best version of Mitchell with a version of Harden that is better than any version we've ever seen of Garland. And I'm a huge Garland truther. I love the way he plays the game. This is not a diss on Garland. It is just the fit of Harden fixes the size problem in your backcourt. He's a better playmaker than Garland. The last time Harden was in the playoffs was 2025. They lost in 7 games in round 1, but he averaged 18 and a half points, and then a league high 9.1 assists. This guy was almost averaging a double-double in the playoffs last year. And mind you, they probably could have gone farther if Kawhi was healthy and, if the team itself was better. They essentially have Harden, at the time, Norman Powell, Kawhi, and Zubats, nothing else on that team. Harden is, by all measures, he's a former MVP. He's a top 75 player in NBA history. He's on that list, the official list. There's never a world where you can look at this and say, even 10 years apart, Harden's still better than Garland today. You can't not make the trade. I don't think it's a perfect trade. High risk, high reward. But we just saw how little the Hawks got out of Trae Young, who is a higher quality player than Garland in so many ways. You got CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert for Trae Young. No disrespect to either of those guys, but Trae Young should have gotten you a Jaren Jackson Jr. Hall of picks, and he didn't, because small guards are fading off. I think the Cavaliers read the tea leaves of a Ja Morant, of a Trae Young, and said, we can get a top 75 player in NBA history right now, and he historically, Donovan Mitchell is the mold of player that fits with him. Evan Mobley is about to feast, so long as they don't trade him for Giannis or AD. But Jared Allen, if he's still here, he's going to feast off of pick and rolls with James Harden. He's surgical with the way he runs those. So not to say you're wrong that it's not a good trade. I think either perspective is very valuable, because it will go one of two ways. This will not be like nothing changes. Either things will get worse or they will get noticeably better.
Yeah.
It'll be for one of those two reasons. I think just obviously since 11 p.m. last night when it hit that Harden was going to get traded for Garland, I've been really deep diving. I've always been a big Rockets fan too because I love Olajuwon. So I remember the Rockets days of Harden. I'm also a big Jeremy Lin fan, and Lin played with Harden for a while in Houston. That's one of the reasons I don't like Patrick Beverley, because Beverley took the starting spot from Lin. I remember young Caleb being mad about that. So, like, as much as I don't like Harden for the foul baiting, I also can recognize that, like, he is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And at 36, he's still, like, the way he plays is kind of age proof until he physically can't play, because he's not based on athleticism. He's based on surgical timing and skill. Like, I don't think the Cavs could pass it up. You might be right that it was a bad trade, but I think historically it shows that it could be really good.
Yeah, and I'm just going to respond to a couple of the things you said. You compared Donovan Mitchell to guys like Kyrie Irving, Jalen Brunson, Chris Paul. The one thing that stands out to me in all of that is Donovan Mitchell is also far and away the worst playmaker of those guys.
Well, yeah, right? He's not the playmaker of any of them. Yeah.
No, and I wonder if that's going to be change a little bit of that dynamic you're thinking of, because Kyrie Irving allowed Luka to play off the ball. Same with Jalen Brunson. Chris Paul allowed James Harden to play off the ball, just because they were phenomenal playmakers and made everybody around them so much better as.
Yeah. Mitchell has improved as a playmaker, but you're right. He's not at the level of them right now.
I remember at one point I was really hoping Donovan Mitchell would become a point guard and be able to play the one, but his playmaking is just not there. But then another thing that really stands out to me with James Harden, and this is going to be something that is going to be something to keep an eye on as they go forward. Name one team he's left in a non-dramatic fashion outside of OKC. He wore the fat suit in Houston. He wore the fat suit in Brooklyn. He wore the fat suit in Philadelphia.
Yeah, but he's here right now. I don't care about how he leaves. He can.
And then
he brings me a chip. That's
fine. He has the tendency to show up to a team and play really well for a year and a half, and then be like, I don't want to do this anymore, I quit.
I think that's all the Cavs want out of him. I mean, honestly. Like,
yeah, because you don't know. We don't know what 38-year-old James Harden's going to look like.
Year and a half from now, the Cavaliers are probably ready to be like, hey, James, retire. If he starts causing drama, I don't think the Cavaliers are going to care. I'd personally rather a diva Harden than a constantly injured Garland who's not there. And again,
that's
it's not
fair.
a slight at Garland.
And then I think they also threw in didn't they also throw in a first?
No, a second.
Okay, just a second. Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha. So that's a little bit. I was thinking it was a first, so it's a little bit better. It's a little bit better.
Yeah. I would have given up a first for Harden.
Oh no way in hell.
Absolutely. And I think for the Clippers, it's a great trade. I think the Clippers.
Yeah, they needed to make. That's far and away the best value you're going to get for Harden.
Yeah.
No.
Garland's really good.
Yeah, because that makes you 10 years younger. You get that second round pick. Kawhi is probably expendable, but I don't know if they can get anything too much in. I'm not going to say anything.
I don't think you can find a good level of return right now. You have 2 days. Day and a half.
I was texting my dad. My dad texted saying it's not going to happen, but Detroit would be a good suitor there. There's no shot. But
yeah.
Being able to, if they can find a way to kind of do what the Nets did, where they traded a bunch of older guys for some younger guys that were a little bit worse, and then the younger guys became better really quickly because they were young. They did that with Karis LeVert. They did that with Spencer Dinwiddie. They did that with they traded for I believe they traded for the Jared Allen pick.
I think so, yeah.
They were really good. They were really good about moving veteran guys that were good for contenders and then getting the young guy from contenders. I think the Clippers could possibly do that, and honestly, getting Darius Garland is probably the first step out of getting out of purgatory. Because to be completely honest, they were the oldest team in NBA history.
Yep.
And they had no draft picks.
Yeah, no draft picks, no young cores. Like they had Terrence Mann, and everyone's like, oh, that's the young core, one guy. And now he's like a end of the bench role player. Like Garland, like the second round pick is a sweetener. I don't even know why anyone cared about that pick.
Yeah.
Garland's going to lead the next era for them. I think Zubac is going to love playing with Garland.
Yeah, if Zubac, if they don't find a trade partner for Zubac.
That's true, yeah. I'm just assuming, like, in my mind, it's this team stays exactly the same.
Yeah, that's
because I haven't seen any, like, serious rumors yet about anyone else.
But also James Harden just kind of came out of nowhere.
It did. The biggest winner of this trade, honestly, is the Thunder. Because they have this Clipper pick, and Garland's still recovering from an injury. He's going to take time to ramp up and get used to the team. The rich are going to get richer. It's so evil. These greedy people at OKC, man. But I think you have a good point. My mindset is you can't say no to Hall of Fame talents that are still elite.
That's fair.
It'd be different if he was like 42. Like even LeBron, I don't know if I trade for LeBron right now. He's horrible on defense.
Hey, he might sign a minimum.
In the summer, yeah. I mean, if he comes on a minimum, sure, but even then, it stunts Jalen Tyson's growth, right?
Yeah, and also it would make your team worse because his defense is that bad.
Yeah, it's abysmal. But Harden, I don't wake up saying I want to watch Harden play. But it's like, if you weren't going, like, getting more, if Mitchell wouldn't become your full-time point guard and you had to go get a bigger point guard.
Yeah.
Lonzo didn't pan out. If Lonzo was the Lonzo we thought he would be, it would be perfect, right? I can't imagine a better result for Garland. This is the best return you were going to get for an oft-injured 26-year-old who is overpaid right now. And it's not that he doesn't necessarily deserve the money. It's that right now he's overpaid because he hasn't shown anything, really, in the playoffs consistently.
Yeah, absolutely. I just checked to see if there was any new notifications from Shams because I got a Twitter notification.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
There's nothing new. But kind of pivoting into something else. What players do you think will be traded? What players are heavily rumored? Obviously, outside of Giannis, heavily rumored to be traded that you think probably won't be moved. What do you think's going on with that landscape right now?
I think Ja Morant will get moved. We already touched on all the Cavs guys, so I'll stop belaboring my team. So I do think we see the Ja Morant trade. I'm trying to think of some others. I don't think Kuminga gets traded. I don't think Anthony Davis gets traded. Michael Porter Jr. would get traded if he costs $10 million less, but he's like $40+ million. So I don't think he gets moved. I think we will see. I'm really trying to think about who else has really been rumored. I mean, the Jaren Jackson Jr. trade came out of nowhere. If anything I had to predict, it will be that one more trade that we had no like major rumors building up towards. Because even the Harden trade, it was less than 24 hours from the time where he gets announced as a trade candidate to the time he got traded. Jaren Jackson Jr. was out of nowhere. So if anything, I would say one player we don't expect to get traded gets traded. And I wouldn't be surprised if Tyler Hero is involved in some way. If Ja Morant gets traded, probably to the Heat for Hero. If a sudden big name comes out, I could see Hero being involved. That would probably be the other name I'd say gets moved, is Tyler Hero.
Yeah. I've seen some talks about Drew Holiday, which I think he's kind of in the same. I think he's kind of in the same boat as MPJ, where if he made a little bit less money, yeah, he's getting moved. But reality of the situation, he doesn't. Yeah. I've seen Marvin Bagley, who's quietly been one of the better backup centers in the league this season.
On a veteran minimum.
Yeah, on a vet minimum. He's averaging 10 points, I think 6.5 rebounds, and only like 15, 20, 25 minutes per game. Actually, not even that. I think he's getting around 15 to 18 minutes per game.
Good.
And he's having the best defensive season of his career.
Get him to Phoenix somehow? Because, man, Phoenix could use a real center like that.
I think they're going to try and move off of Nick Richards to try and clear up minutes for Kaman Malawak.
Let's see if he can.
Because Mark Williams has been nothing short of elite. for in that system at least. He's been fantastic for them. If Kaman Maluwak can deliver on some of the promise that he showed in the pre-draft build-up, I think Phoenix could really have something interesting there. Granted, their draft history at the center position in the last 10, 15 years is hit or miss, to say the least. But
for deadline rumors, one thing I want to throw at you, because mentioning people might get traded, the Pacers. Do you think they get their center of the future? Instead of players necessarily, but because like the Celtics just did it with Vucevic mid trade.
We didn't even touch that one yet.
That's true. We're already so late in. We'll touch on it again another time. But,
we can do a recap.
Yeah,
but
Pacers though, maybe they get someone.
I really like Jay Huff for them personally. I think Jay Huff is probably the ideal center next to Halliburton.
Honestly, yeah.
Off the bench. You can if he can come in and give you 15 minutes. That's the best because he averages 16 minutes per game this season. He averages 2 blocks per game.
Yeah. He's
Holy crap!
Really good. Yeah. He was in the G League for like 7 years, man.
Yeah. And he didn't even put up good numbers in the G League too. He just kind of showed up in Memphis and put up the exact same numbers he did in the G League, just in half the minutes in the NBA. And it's like, okay.
Yep.
But I don't know, because ideally you want a guy who can space the floor a little bit, but also play defense, and that doesn't really exist at the center position outside of obviously Miles Turner, Alex Sarr, but there's no shot they're getting him because he's
somehow getting Naz Reid. I mean, he's 6'9", but like he can play center.
I don't think they're gonna be able to get him. I don't know if they get their center of the future. I'm trying to think of who they could go after that would really interest them.
I think they'll have to sacrifice the shooting or the defense.
Yeah,
one of the two.
I would personally, having watched the Pacers last year, I would rather sacrifice the shooting because you have the offense outside of that position. Obviously, you've got Jay Huff too off the bench, where you do get both, so you can still play that style of basketball for 15, 20 minutes a game. But if they can get a guy like Walker Kessler is rumored to be a bit moving in the offseason. Maybe not in a trade, but because he's a restricted free agent. But that would be an interesting move for them. And he would feast off of Halliburton. And then they've also got that first round pick that they traded for, by the way.
Yeah.
They traded for their own first round pick. So everybody making fun of the New Orleans Pelicans for trading their own first round pick and then being horrible. They also traded the Pacers first round pick, and the Pacers are horrible.
During the finals, by the way, like right before Halliburton broke his leg.
Yeah, sorry. It was after Game 6, I'm pretty sure, too. It was after Game 6.
Between 6 and 7.
Yeah. But it's they traded both of those picks within a few months of each other, and then that's anyway. Yeah. They've got that first round pick, so I think they might move Benedict Mathurin. I could see Mathurin for Jarrett Allen being extremely interesting because you've got that. You have power forwards in Cleveland. You can. I don't know if it's the best idea, but Larry Nance Jr. you could possibly move into the starting lineup. He hasn't been great this season, but he's
keep Dean Wade there.
Yeah, Dean Wade.
Toby Toppin on the table, I think, for Allen.
Dean Wade.
It's a lot more interesting for the Cavs.
But Mathurin and a couple of rotation pieces, I think, might move the needle there. But if Jarrett Allen for Benedict Mathurin would be what I think I would target, because Allen's still good enough offensively that's probably your best option. If you're the Pacers.
Jr. as an option either.
No, Wendell Carter Jr. is also a great option, but I'm not really sure what Orlando's thinking.
I don't know.
Thinking right now.
What they're thinking yet. We're going to see how Banchero and Franz can mesh eventually. They're looking for point guard.
They're in a weird spot. Anthony Black, I think, secured their point guard position.
That's true, yeah.
He took a giant step forward, but I think they need to figure out what they're going to do with their front court because Paolo Banchero, He's good, but he thinks he's streaky as a shooter and doesn't really fit the rest of the roster.
Yeah.
You've got two really bloated contracts in Jonathan Isaac and Jalen Suggs. Wendell Carter Jr. is a really solid starting center, but doesn't really play well next to Paolo. Franz Wagner is your best forward. You ideally, if we lived in an ideal world, you would move Paolo, preferably get a 3-and-D wing who can shoot and play. And Trey Murphy would be fantastic for Paolo if they could somehow swing it. It's not going to happen because they have Zion. But if they could get Trey Murphy, if they could have a starting lineup of Anthony Black, Jalen Suggs, Trey Murphy, Franz Wagner, and Wendell Carter Jr., they're a lot closer to the Pistons than they are to their current position.
Well, we've sidetracked a lot, by the way. I want to let you say what you're saying with different players who might get
sorry.
Before kind of closing comments.
Yeah, kind of went down.
20.
Yeah, I kind of went down a little bit of a rabbit hole there.
Yeah.
But I mentioned Bagley. Quickly, I've seen a lot of people kind of throwing him around. Same with RJ Barrett, just due to their contracts.
It's too expensive.
I don't see either one of them moving just because they're on just these ridiculously big contracts for the level of player that they are. Though Barrett's is not looking terrible, but not looking great. So he's more likely to be moved than Quickly, but also at the same time, like, he's really solid at that shooting guard position. He brings really good defense at that position because he's oversized. So I would rather move Quickly than Barrett. But Toronto's kind of in a weird spot where they have a lot of really good complementary pieces. They don't really have that star. So I don't really know what on the trade market would really help them other than Giannis, but that's getting back into the same thing. Again, I've said my thoughts on Jimmy Butler. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
There are a lot of guys who are getting shopped right now, but I just don't.
I think all the rumored names kind of have been shopped at this point. They're going to get shopped outside of maybe Giannis.
Yeah.
I think we will have 2 more big trades, but I think the rest of it will probably be teams shuffling to manage salary cap and everything.
Yeah.
I think Ja Morant will be the biggest name left to be traded because I don't think
absolutely.
Giannis will get traded at this
I'm
point.
trying to think if there's somebody else that's been brought up in trade rumors that we haven't touched on. Yeah, we mentioned Davis, but he's not moving.
Jalen Green's been mentioned a few times for Phoenix.
Yeah, I've seen some people talk about Dylan Brooks, especially after that game against Detroit, but I don't see Phoenix moving him. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not seeing any.
Well, Karl Anthony Towns.
I think it's Giannis or bust with him, though.
Yeah, I don't think there's a trade package that moves the needle for New York because I don't think Cat has the trade value. Frankly, I don't think.
Especially since Cat's almost completely quit on this team almost because of those trade rumors, and that's killed that team. It's killed the Knicks. Like. Because not Giannis. Cat's played. You look at before the rumors really with Giannis really started heating up versus after, and it was right around the time the play-in tournament happened, and the Bucks that was around the time the Bucks really got embarrassed by the Wizards twice in the span of a week, and that's when Giannis was like, I don't know, maybe I want out. And then Knicks fans and really the president of the Knicks as well were like, Cat? And then there were leaks and rumors that they had tried moving Cat. And then they were actively shopping him. And then you look at the defensive intensity from him from that point till now, night and day.
Yeah, I don't necessarily blame him. He spent so much time in Minnesota and then gets to New York and it's totally different for him. I think Cat wanted to stay in Minnesota the whole time. So I don't totally blame him.
Yeah, but also, you're completely killing your team. He's not putting in anywhere near as much effort on offense. He's not putting in anywhere near as much effort on defense. And it's killed his trade value, honestly. So you're not moving him. He makes $60 million a year for another 2 years, I believe. That contract's unmovable, especially if he's going to keep playing like this. And then on top of that, he's killing the team. Like the Knicks during that span, there is a time where they lost or they won 2 out of 13 games in a stretch.
Yeah.
That's not a good team right now. And I don't really see they're trying to be like, we can move Gershon Yabusele. Congrats. Like, that's not doing anything. He's talking about going and playing in Israel, and it's like,
we'll see. Frankly, I would have liked Jaren Jackson Jr. to the Knicks more than the Jazz, considering what they need and with the cap situation. But again, I don't want to belabor it too much. It's almost 2 a.m. here for me.
Yeah.
So I think we're at a good spot to call. We'll see what happens. I think it'll be fun. We'll have to hop back on and do some kind of recap because could be a 2018 style insane trade deadline. So we'll see.
Or even just last year where there's just one ridiculous one that nobody saw coming. Except we all know it's happening because all the guys that might get moved, we've been talking about for like 5 years now. Actually, Giannis, we've been talking about since 2017.
True. All right.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, have a good night or day or whenever anyone's watching this.
Yeah, we're gonna call it a day. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.
All right. See ya. Bye.